I want to talk to you about what leadership is. The key to becoming a great leader is empowering leaders around you. Build into your life a routine that leads you to godliness and leads you to a place of being ready and available for God to use you that day. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the second episode of the Leadership Lean In podcast. And hey, I'm excited about it. Thank you so much for subscribing and commenting. The comments and the subscriptions mean the world. They help us out so much. So thank you for doing that. I'm really excited because I think leadership, for Rich and I at least, it's not something we've mastered, but it's something we're always talking about. We're always leaning into it. And I think leadership is one of those things, it's like wisdom. If you lean into wisdom, wisdom said, it will promote you, it will help you, it will advance you. So I always feel like for my life as a leader, is trying to lean into the subject, lean into whatever good leaders are doing. And out of that, I'm gonna benefit from it. So these episodes and these conversations are only to make us get better. I have with me today one of my best friends in the whole world. I love introducing you.
This is fun. I like it too.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
He's a pastor from Miami, Florida. He's been admitted, like, you know, those really like eloquent,
long profiles.
Like I always get scared, like, what are you going to say?
You know what I get nervous about when I'm introducing people, especially like on a public platform or a stage, is like sometimes you start building up and you haven't said their name yet. Does that make sense? So it's like, hey, today's speaker, we're really grateful to have him. He comes from Los Angeles, California. He leads Zoe Church.
It's like so.
He's a father of 4.
Yeah.
He's married to the wonderful, stunning Julia.
Yeah.
I haven't said your
You're bound
name.
to say something bad.
But it's just like, I'm like, so you know what I do now? I go, today we're so excited. We got Chad Veach with us. And then I give the thing. And then I say your name one more time.
That's really good.
Does that make
still
sense?
In it.
Like,
already this.
Because as you build up without saying their name, it's like you have to have all this mystery.
Just already you've helped so many people.
Sorry, I'm trying to.
No, right away.
Yeah.
You've already
We've got today on the program, he's like, yeah, good to be here. So this is the second episode.
And then as they're building it, I'm always like, that's not really who I am.
Do you ever get people that like have lied about you? Like
No.
not on purpose, but like, you know, an exaggeration. Like, Rich has got the fastest growing church.
Yeah,
in
that
America.
kind
It's
of
like,
stuff.
it's not really true.
But my favorite in the introductions too is he travels both nationally
and internationally. It's like, dude,
It's-
come on, what year is this, man?
What does that matter?
Yeah.
And what does that
I
mean?
think that's a comment from 1972 that back in the day, it was
Just
quite
keeps-
hard to get a visa
yeah.
in other places. I don't know. It's very strange.
My favorite introduction I've ever gotten. I was preaching at a church and the way they leveraged their platform for me. Today we have with us a special guest, Chad Veach from Seattle, Washington. He's crazy. Welcome him to the stage.
Oh, I've had that.
And I'm just like, how do I get up and go,
Yeah.
hey, I'm the crazy guy?
Yeah.
You're going to discover that on your own in a second, but give me a chance to win him over.
I think that's huge because it's like, you're not really setting me up. You just told everyone like you had me because I'm crazy. Like, what should I be foaming at the mouth when I walk up here? Like, what do you
Some
want me to
business
do?
guy in
Like,
the back's going like, why is the crazy guy here?
you just walk up and be like, ah! They're like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm crazy. I'm freaking crazy, man.
Oh, we're going to have so much fun. Last night,
Why would you say that? Hey, we're so excited about our guest today. He's crazy. Put your hands together.
Come on, welcome
for
him.
Chad Veach. Like,
And then I feel like, what if today, for the first time, I wanted to be calm? What if today, for the first time, I was just thinking, when
Am
I
I
went
allowed
there,
to change?
what if I wanted to sit on a stool?
Yeah. Can a man become anything new from what he was yesterday?
Can I?
Of course not. Not in this church. You can't grow in this church.
I guess I got to be. So I'll do it today.
Yeah,
I'll
I
be
like
crazy. Hey, thank you for
Crazy.
coming on. This is exciting. This is just episode 2.
I know that even right there, man, I should stop you there. Little disappointed. Who'd you have for one? You know, like
The fastest growing church in America. He went first.
you got me. You got me with that.
You walked
That's
into
true.
that,
That's
though.
true. Yeah.
But
We want to start strong, so we went with the man who has
So
the
now we have the
fastest.
second.
If you're wondering who Rich Wilkerson Jr. is, he could be the second
I think he's
fastest.
got the second.
Chad went through his
Yeah.
Rolodex.
Yeah.
No one uses that term anymore.
And so
man, it's good.
next week we're gonna have.
Hit the third.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be awesome.
I like it. I
Yeah,
like it.
but thank you
No,
for
I'm
coming
pumped to
on.
be here. Thanks for having me.
I think this is cool because this is what we talk about nonstop.
Always,
This
constantly.
is just like what we text about, FaceTime about, stay up till 3 a.m. talk about is this subject. So I think, as we just, kind of press record, I have got some things down I want to talk to you about. I think you're a brilliant leader. You're so strategic. You've got so much experience and wisdom. You get to have fun, but anybody that gets to know you understands you're playing no games. You are serious about what God's put in your heart, what he's put in your life. I love that about you. I think you steward your life so well. I think you're very responsible. And I love right now,
You're very kind.
You're in the year of discipline.
Right.
Talk to me about that, because we've gone through some years that were not so disciplined.
Right.
So how did that come about, and how does that change your life?
You can only result in the year of discipline at 34 when you've taken 33 years
this
to have
is going to be the year.
the year of fun, the year of joy, the year of pleasure.
This is the year of adventure.
The year of celebration. I think right off the bat, everything you just said to me, I appreciate you saying those words. I love chatting through this stuff, and I don't think I talk with anyone more on an everyday basis like I do with you. I just think leadership is one of these interesting things that you really can't talk enough about.
Absolutely.
I think our context where we are leading in is in the local church.
Right.
But man, anyone who wants to do anything worthwhile is going to have to learn how to lead.
Yeah.
If you're leading a business, an organization, if you want to be a good mom, a good dad, if you want to have a good relationship, it all takes leadership. And the principles over and over and over again are repeatable
100%.
and can be used. And so I think we're always trying to crack codes of discovering, how do we contextualize this for where I'm at? How do I apply the principle to my setting and to my space? I think for me, a big valuable phrase from my life that we kind of say in our church, we say in our team, is that life is not about perfection, it's about progress. So it's not about being the best today, but it's about getting better today.
I love that.
So I like that pathway, and I like this idea of like the leadership lean in. Like, you're constantly learning leadership. You're never like mastering it.
Right.
You're constantly growing.
Totally.
And even that kind of phrasing has just helped me a lot in my life to kind of like exhale and enjoy the journey. And so I think this year when we kicked off 2018, I was going to be a dad. I became a dad in January.
Amazing.
And
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much.
I feel like you're such a good dad. We always said that. We knew you were going to be a good dad, and then you didn't disappoint. You're a great dad, so congratulations.
It's honestly my highest priority right now.
It's the best.
I love it. You are the best dad ever. I like how you always ask your kids, like, who's your best friend? You are. Sorry. Chad gets mad when I impersonate his kids. Because let's move on.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to the answer. This is the longest answer I'm coming to. But we always start our year off back home. I think you guys do the same thing with 21 days of prayer and fasting. It's a good reset, in our life.
100%.
And so I just kicked the year off, and my son was due in January. He was born on January 23rd. And as I was kicking the year off, the last 2 years, I've kind of feel like I've tried to theme out my years on a personal level. So the year before was, I said in 2017, this is going to be my most productive year ever. And my book was finished. And there was just a couple of things that we wanted to do. 2018 coming into it, I said, this is the year I need to get disciplined. And it was more about me making some personal habits. So it was fitness. It was educating myself in the realm of leadership. So I committed to reading through the Bible in a year, and then to reading 2 books a month.
Jeez.
And so we're now here today in October. I don't know when this is airing, but I'm still on that thing. I'm a little behind on one. I just finished my September 18th book, so I'm on my 19th right now. So
it's unbelievable.
I got to catch up. I got to finish the year with 24. But all of it to me was just about progress. I just want to be learning. I feel like so often we all want to arrive. But arrivals never feel like arrivals. It's always the journey every step of the way. And God does his best work on the journey.
Absolutely.
And it encourages me because I don't know what season people find themselves in. They're like, I want to arrive. And I just know that my next arrival, whatever that looks like, is how I steward the journey I'm in.
I love that. So, I think that you use the word journey so well. It's like it's in the core of who you are, always has been. I love that. That's just kind of like one of your key values. I think we're on the journey. We're on the journey with people. We're on the journey together. I'm on a journey. And I think about that story about Troy Aikman when he won the Super Bowl, and they say he won the Super Bowl, or he says he won the Super Bowl. He went back to his hotel room and he goes, "That's it." And it just kind of proves like what's the thrill of life is the progress. So there's no arrival, there's no event, there's no, you and I have gotten to do some pretty cool stuff, but it's never fulfilled me. It's always just getting a little bit better and improving my marriage, improving my leadership, improving who I am.
Well, one of the best things you can learn as a leader is to fall in love with the work of it all, to fall in love with the grind of it all, to fall in love with the process of it all. And like, if you're not careful, you can just hear that and it becomes like sound bites, or maybe it kind of is like cliche preaching, but it's actually truth. Like Jesus said, the harvest is plentiful, workers are few.
Yeah.
And so the key to the harvest is to be a worker. We don't need to pray for a harvest. We need to pray for workers to rise up.
That's
it. If you apply that same statement to your organization, your business, whatever harvest looks like, I think that we have to learn how to go, man, it wasn't about getting there. It was about trying to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't have to even get there. I just have to try.
I love that.
To get there.
I love that.
And I think that young leaders need to hear that, because it's not about success or even failure.
Right.
It's about trying. I remember when I was in college, I've quoted it many times, but I came across this sociological study that's for sure changed my life, because I've been talking about it for 15 years and I'll probably keep talking about it forever. But 50 people over the age of 95 were all surveyed with the question, if you had to live life all over again, what would you do differently? Well, the question itself is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your answer. But I don't appreciate your answer as much as I appreciate people at 95 years of age.
Absolutely.
And the question was, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently? And a whole lot of answers came back, but at the top of their list, all these people came back with saying we would take more risk.
Wow.
And it's always just ringed loud and clear to me that,
I love that.
At the end of their life, they weren't going, man, I wish I was more successful here, or I wish I wouldn't have failed there. They just said, I wish I would have gone for it. I would have tried. And so for me, and I think for you, it's going, life is not about being the best right now. It's about getting better every day.
Every day.
It's about trying. It's about attempting. It's about falling in love with that word, the journey.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done, but that is my aim and that is my goal.
And I feel like you do that so well. Talk to me about, use the word work ethic. I think yours is pretty unmatched, if I can say that. I really think that one of the things I appreciate, you challenge me, you inspire me, you motivate me. And I think that's kind of like the strength of our relationship. And I noticed that about great leaders. Great leaders are inspired by other great leaders, never threatened by other people. But I love your work ethic. Where did you get that? Is that something that you developed? Because people don't know this. In college you graduated. What is the summa cum laude? Should have came in with a hundred.
Cafe con leche.
Cafe.
Like, what are we talking about?
You graduated.
I think what he's trying to say is caramel macchiato.
Caramel macchiato. Please forgive me. I made a mistake. But so college, you're working hard in the classroom, and that spills over to youth ministry and working, really hard at your dad's church and now starting a church. So you've had a work ethic. What age was it? Was it like, as a youth, as a teenager, where you're like, I'm ready to work hard?
Yeah, I think I was always competitive. I think I was always driven. I don't think I liked doing things and not doing well at them. I don't know where all that always comes from, right? I think that I had two really capable parents. I think I had a full family of people that went before me that were really amazing people. And so I think there's some things, right, that you kind of get when you come into this world. And I think I had a lot of great models and examples. But yeah, from a young boy, I can always just remember going, whatever I'm doing, I want it to be good. I want to be a part of something and I want to excel. And I think at times that can be very, very unhealthy. You know what I mean? If you're not careful. Ambition isn't bad, but selfish ambition is. And competition can be good, but if your whole life is just about comparing yourself, you're going to kill your contentment. Yeah. And that's what comparison does.
Totally.
So I think at times I've had to learn how to harness that stuff. I think I'm always trying to figure those things out. I think Dawn Shree, my wife, has been a really good helpmate in that space of trying to help me equalize some of those things. But yeah, I think work ethic, I've always believed it to be a value point, that whatever you're given, you're not graduating to the next until you steward that which you currently have. Right. I think we see that as a biblical principle, but it's something that I learned quickly. So many people, they're given something, big, small, however you want to say it. Right. But it's really what you do with that thing that you're given that's going to create more. Yep. And from the very beginning, I mean, I'm a pastor, so I'm going to keep going back to the Bible. I apologize if I'm allowed to do that. Right.
No, that's what we're doing.
But it's like the first command is be fruitful and multiply. And so faith doesn't maintain, faith multiplies.
Always.
And that's what we're called to do. But I think a lot of times what happens to us, and I've been a victim of this before, where I get something and I don't value it. It's too small. And I'm like, and so I complain about it rather than multiply it.
Right.
And I don't want to be that person. I think over and over again, the way that we grow, the way that we expand is by taking that which we have and working it and working it and working it.
That's it.
And many times we live our life saying, I'm just so stressed out. I think I heard Brian Houston say this past summer, it's like, stress is not your problem. Capacity is.
Wow.
And many times we're praying the wrong prayer. We're going, God, take away my stress. One of the books I read this year was called Peak Performance. And it talks about this principle that it's stress plus rest that equals success. And so it's these two things. It's you pushing yourself to a place that you've never gone before.
Wow.
And then making sure that you couple that with great rest that leads to success. And so many times in life, we're always going, I need to be relieved from my stress, or God, take away all the stress. That thing that you're being pushed about is expanding your capacity and how you grow. And so if you don't have a work ethic to push beyond the pain, you're not going to expand your capacity.
That's right.
And you're going to live your whole life smaller than what you could be.
I love that.
And so I think I'm just determined to become who God's called me to become. And that's not to become better than you or to become like you. That's to become what's the best version of me.
Stewarding my life, stewarding my call. I love that.
The way we do that is by going to work with what we got. And I don't know, man. I'm trying to figure that out more and more. How can I take on, I don't want to say I can't take on more.
Right.
I want to do all that God has called me to do.
Totally.
And I think there's more to do. And the only way I'm going to get there is by figuring out how to steward that which is there right now. And so I got to figure out how to master those things to be given more. I remember, and I think you'll appreciate this story. Like both of us, we started churches like in the same month, and God's been really faithful towards our churches that we've gotten to see growth. That's been really cool. But I know it happened for you. It happened for you, but like, month 1, month 2, month 3, and people are coming, and you get these people around it. They're going, "Oh my goodness, this is amazing. We need a building. We need God to give us a building." Yeah. And by the way, we do need a building. Yes. And God, we pray for buildings right now.
Building's like the number one word that happens for church plants.
But it is, right?
Right. Always.
And I actually remember, I didn't say it all the time, but consciously I remember going, actually, we don't need a building. You know what we need? We need to learn how to steward this rental property.
That's it.
I need to learn how to take this thing from 1 service to 2 services. I need to take this thing from 1 service to 6 services. Yep. I need to figure out how to be operational, that teams get in and load it in and get it loaded out. And you say, why? The reason why is because if someone gives me a building before I've done all those things, I'll never be grateful for it.
That's it.
We'll never actually steward that building that's given to us. Right. And we'll stop growing.
That's it.
And it's because I didn't learn how to steward the small thing and multiply it. And so I think if we're not careful, we'll graduate and we'll jump over seasons of life. Right. And we'll miss out on all the lessons that we had to learn, which was part of the grind of it.
Gotta go back and learn them again.
It takes the work ethic. Yeah. And so that's kind of a radical thing to say, but I'm learning that more and more in leadership. It's like, dude, if you give me $1 billion tomorrow, like I want to have vision for it, but if I haven't learned how to manage $1 million, I can't take on, you know what I mean? Like, I gotta take each one of those steps.
No, I love that. Well, and the reason why I asked the question is because I think someone could look at your life and look at who you are and what you do and the favor and the opportunities that God's given you, and maybe be stooped into believing that it's your family or the start or just misconceptions that can come from the lack of proximity. And I think, the reason why I asked the question is to encourage people to go like, hey, you know what leadership is? It's stewardship. Leadership is working hard and it's leaning into, it's treating, I always think, wherever I am is the big time. So the big time is where I'm at. So right now, there's nothing bigger in the whole world than Zoe Church because that's big in my heart. So I'm not convinced. So anything else is bigger than that. And when you're convinced of that, you work hard for the thing that's in your hand. So
my uncle Miles Corrigan was, you'll appreciate this, was part of the football coaching staff for the University of Washington Huskies.
Right.
And he had a insane upbringing. He's gone to be with Jesus now, but he was literally born an orphan, and then his foster parents passed away. I mean, he just had a troubled upbringing and really came from nothing, and just all the things that he ended up doing in life was just really amazing. But his favorite phrase was that right there. Wherever I'm at, that's the big time.
Yeah.
And I preached a message not too long ago, and I was challenging our church with just the idea of the perspective that you take on, that sometimes you need to audibly say out loud, whatever that thing is that you're doing, that this is big.
Huge.
Because we live in a world today that's addicted to big, but we don't understand that in order to get to whatever you think big is, you start small. And God, he always starts in the seed format.
Yeah.
And you have to learn that as a leader, your job is to steward the seeds that he gives you.
Right.
If you pray for trees, guess
Right.
what God does? He gives you seeds.
Right.
And you got to plant the seeds.
brilliant. I love
and that's
that.
where trees come from. And so that's his mechanism. That's how he works. And I actually think that we have to learn how to talk to ourselves more than listen to ourselves.
That's it.
So I have literally challenged our church before
Yes.
that, hey, when you're picking up your kid from after school and you're going, this feels small, this is big.
Yeah.
When you get your whole family to sit down on a Monday night for dinner, this is big.
Right.
When you get done with the financial meeting that's really boring, this is big.
Totally.
And over and over again, I think that our job as leaders is to figure out new vernacular, new language to help people. We just got done. Our theme this year as a church is stand firm.
Yeah.
It's all the same principles.
Yeah.
The premise of my message was, honestly, the way you steward your mundane moments is what creates memorable moments. Because so much of my life, and what you're trying to get at is monotonous. It's so mundane. I was just in London talking to these pastors, these young pastors, like 300 young pastors with Hillsong, and I just went in for a long time. I go, let's just stop. My life is so monotonous and mundane.
We live boring lives.
Oh my, I just started going through my schedule. I was like, Monday's meeting Monday. And I wake up and I go to the gym and I come back and then I read my Bible and then I read the book that I'm in. Then I take a shower and I pray, and then I go into the office and I get to the office and I sit in a director's meeting and I listen to everyone talk about the problems. After the director's meeting, I get up and I talk to our staff and I try to encourage them and I pump them up and try to go for it. After that, I sit in a programming meeting for the weekend. After the programming meeting, I sit down in a financial meeting. After the financial meeting, I sit down in counseling meetings. Tuesday, I get up and I spend all day long. I don't know why it still takes me this long, but I spend all freaking day trying to write a sermon. And I still don't know why, after doing this for this many years, it takes me this long to do it. I have to still write out 8 pages manuscript form to preach, which maybe you don't even think it's a good sermon, but it took me a really long time to do it. And then Wednesday I come back in and we call it Wrap Up Wednesday. And I sit there and I go to department check-ins and I go to a weekend meeting. Then Thursdays, Think a Lot Thursday, and we go through every programming creative meeting. I still talk to people that are mad at the church and I still view every report on growth track. I love my city, kids report. The whole point I'm saying, all of that though, is what's led to the things that people might be talk about.
Yeah.
It's this mundane stuff that you don't see, that's not fun to put on Instagram, that determines and creates these short moments that are beautiful.
That's it.
And so full circle here, we're just going, it's like falling in love with that and knowing that and talking, this is big.
It is.
This is big. What I'm doing right now, this is the big time.
And I think people can feel that. You can always sense if someone sees themselves or their thing as small.
Wow.
Which I always think is tragic. Like, I don't like being around leaders that I think are awesome and amazing, and they self-deprecate to a place where it's like, where does that inferior spirit come from? Because I like being around people that, in a healthy way, go, I'm building something big. And my life is big. And I appreciate that because it talks about self-value and self-worth.
Absolutely.
So all of it matters. The stewardship of where you're at, from whether we're in Puyallup or in Bellevue or LA, I just look at everything I'm doing is big. And I'm not saying that in a prideful way. I just believe if God put it in my hand, he put something good in my heart, what we're doing is huge. So I'm not going to treat it like it's small or it's inferior to others or it's not as big as so-and-so. It's a big deal. It's a big deal because of what I'm doing.
It's huge. And I think that that's what makes you attractive. And it's actually that type of spirit.
It is.
That outlook.
Yeah.
It's that way of living
to people.
That creates.
It's infectious. It's contagious.
That creates a life-changing atmosphere. That it creates momentum.
Yeah.
And I think I've discovered that principle. I think at different times that principle is threatened in us at different phases, different seasons. But that's why we can't quit talking about it. We have to remind ourselves over and over and over again.
I love it.
And I think so many people, I think that their outlook has been so skewed and they don't know that they're hurting themselves. They don't know that they've become their own worst enemy simply by the way that they've decided to view that which God has given them.
Absolutely. Talk to me about, I love the word reinvent because I think that's kind of something that every leader has to do. We'll probably have to do this another 100 times.
Sure.
And so you practice reinventing. I'm just going to talk everybody through kind of just VOO. So you're a young adult pastor for how many years at your dad's church? 8 years? 9 years?
2007 to 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years. So then you start a church and starts a just a little small group, few people interested, and a couple gatherings. Launch a church in September 3 years ago.
2015, yeah.
And this thing has, you don't have to say, but I'll say it, over 4,000 people in let's pause for a praise break. I'm going to raise the roof like it was 2007. That felt great.
You're literally doing
what I mean?
This. You're literally raising the
flex
roof.
too. There's video, but this is not just audio. This is
GP,
video.
are you with me? Oh yeah, we have a church. We ain't going nowhere.
So that's unbelievable. So talk me through, because who you were when people were interested versus people that came when you launched and when you were at hundreds to 1,000. How do you know when it's time to reinvent yourself? How do you discipline yourself to go, what got me here, I'm certain won't get me there.
Wow.
What was working for me,
I
can sense is going to work against me. So talk to me about when because I see you as a risk taker. You're always doing that. And reinventing is taking a risk.
Sure.
If you just keep doing the same thing, it's really you're scared to change.
Yeah.
So how do you, as a leader, how do you go, these are things I've put in my life that help me make the decision to reinvent?
Yeah. Change is inevitable.
Yeah.
Progress is optional.
Yeah, totally.
And so once again, I think it's educating yourself, learning. I think the past is a great teacher. You know what I mean? History is a great teacher.
Right.
And change is going to happen. And everyone is for change until something changes.
Right.
So right. You know what I mean? Like,
let's change it.
Yeah.
Don't change my area, man.
You got it. Don't change me. And so I think leadership life is about embracing the change. At 34 years of age, I think it's easier to change. I think it gets harder and harder and harder and harder. But I think in my story, I think the providence of God is really amazing, because when I was 22 or 23 years of age and we were starting The Rendezvous, which is what VOO Church is for, I had no idea that this name that I came up with in college was going to play the next decade of my life. And
wow,
it's attached to me. It's funny, right? Because I just remember being in college at Lee University, and Don Tree and I were going back to work for my dad, and we were going to start this young adult program, and really didn't know what we were doing, but definitely were excited. And Dad had given us really a blank canvas and said, hey, you take the Tuesday night and there's nothing happening that night. You do whatever you want.
Wow.
In some ways that could be paralyzing for some people. For me, that was,
let's go.
Yeah, it was thrilling.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And that's what made it so much fun. But I had no idea that naming this thing called The Rendezvous was going to be something we'd be talking about, you and I, whatever it was, 12 years later, wherever we're at today, 11 years later. So I just think God's really amazing with that. But in that, anything that we're starting, organizations, businesses, churches, these are living organisms.
Yeah.
Like a lifespan, if it doesn't change, it dies.
Totally.
It's just like, I had a son 8 months ago, and it's crazy when you have a child and you're watching this kid every day change. When you're this close, you can't always see it. But I'm going to come back from this trip. We're in LA right now, and I've only been gone for 2 days. But when I see him in 2 days, I'm like, who is this kid? You've changed so much. Like the progress is like, whoa, bro.
Totally.
Sometimes when you're so close, you can't see it, and you can stifle it. But when you kind of get it back, you're going, oh, I can see this thing happening.
Totally.
If we quit changing, we're dying.
Yep.
You look around God's creation. Creation has seasons and has rhythm, and you've got fall and you've got winter and you've got spring and you've got summer, and the leaves change. And so our organizations, our businesses are going to have to do the exact same thing.
Right.
And if we're not committed to changing with them or helping lead that change, we're going to get left behind or we're going to die.
Right.
When I was in university, I was in my capstone business class, and I remember our professor, he used to have he had these 21 quotes. Like every day of class, he'd give us a new quote. And part of your final exam, aside from all the real stuff, is that you had to write out all 21 of his quotes. And they were all really good leadership principles and whatnot. But one that I'll never forget is he used to say, if the horse is dead, dismount. And it's a matter of fact. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But in organizations, this happens left and right. In churches, that's the one I'm most familiar with. How many things have you been a part of? That thing was dead 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But nobody chose to get off the horse because they were so committed, or that the idea itself was so precious.
Yeah.
And really, it's just a lack that they were unwilling to change. They were afraid to reinvent that which was. And so I want to make sure that I'm building a world and a culture. I'm building a life. I want to put values out there that are helping guide me, as opposed to just lingering and hanging on to old ideas. And so over and over again, we would talk about that. We want to be a people that change. We want to say that our ideas aren't precious. That if there's a better idea, let's take that. Our first value as a staff and as a team is to make things better.
That's it.
And I like that because once again, it doesn't say make things the best. It says make things better. It's a growing, ever evolving thing. And so when you're asking me the question in my life, I think there's been different moments, we could go through them, where we've had to pivot and reinvent. And it's because you could kind of see, man, the momentum's starting to shift a little bit. And what a lot of people do is, they make the change far too late. The horse has been dead and you've been sitting there and you lost 2 years because you weren't moving forward. You want to realize, oh man, this horse has got arthritis in its legs.
Right.
Let's get off and get another one.
Everybody else knew this 6 months ago.
Yeah. And
why didn't anybody tell me?
The whole idea of momentum, right, is that you want to make the change before you're at the top of that hill. Because momentum is when you're coming down that hill, you're not having to pedal anymore. It's like it's pushing you. And so I think with Rendezvous, I think there's been moments where I've gotten it right, and there's been moments where I've gotten it wrong.
Yeah.
But we came to a place for sure that season, you could tell it was over. In fact, I think it might have been a year too late at times that we were trying to hang on to it because we loved it so much. And we were afraid. It's
your baby.
We didn't know what you're stepping out into.
Yeah.
And when you take those steps, it always feels that way a little bit.
Yeah.
I think for me, when it comes to just maybe some good practical advice, because I think there's some people right now who's like, oh man, like I've been doing something for 1 year and it hasn't taken off. Maybe I should change.
The horse is dead.
And so there needs to be some clarity with that. Right? How do you decipher between this thing's dead versus this thing needs commitment. And I need to invest into it. And there's lots of practical mechanisms I could give. I think that you want godly counsel.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like you need to get some people. If you're a lone ranger making all your calls, you're gonna, I don't care how good you are, you're gonna miss at some point.
Totally.
So you want to make sure you get some people that are around you that are counseling you. But then I also think one of the best ways I make decisions, and it's just language that someone shared with me many years ago, but it resonated with me, and maybe it might resonate with someone out there, is that when I make a decision, there's 3 areas that I'm looking at. And it's my head, it's my heart, and it's my gut.
Wow.
So my head is my logic.
Yep.
My heart is my desire. And then my gut is just that.
Wow.
It's that sense. Intuition of a leader.
I love that.
I have to get 2 out of 3. So
it's great.
Sometimes it logically makes sense and my gut says we should do this, but my heart's, I'm not like, this is not some, I'm not bleeding. But I'm going, God, this logically up here, it makes a lot of sense. And then my gut's like, take the moment. Other times, my heart is all here, but my gut is just like, I'm not, but my logic's going, that's good. So it's just, I gotta get 2 out of 3. Sometimes it's my heart, it's my gut, and my head's going, this don't make any sense, but I'm going, I got that gut, and my heart is alive, and I'm going,
I love that.
And so the language for me has been good because I think a lot of people, sometimes we, especially in the church, once again, I'm sorry to keep reducing it down because I know this audience is more than just churchgoers, but it's good for me in the way that I apply it. Church people at times can just over spiritualize everything. And we take faith as I'm walking on water. Well, it's cool to walk on water if Jesus is present.
If he's calling.
If not.
Because logically that doesn't make any sense.
If you're out on the beach today going, Peter did it, I can do it. Well, it's like, is he calling you? And you and I have seen that over and over again. And I think there's too many people today.
Totally.
I think we have
I love this.
Here we go. I think, especially in the church world, we have a far greater percentage of people who are over spiritualizing and who are not committed to things than we do having people that are committed, working it, invested. That are, you know what I'm saying? Like that are there that should like give up because of that. No. I think that most people need to work harder
totally.
and need to stay longer.
That's it. That's totally
And
it.
I think less people need to make, so I don't want to, I don't want to confuse people right now because people have selective hearing. I think some people go, oh yeah, like I just need to dude, there's a season to growth. And so you plant seed and there's time and there's a harvest. And too many people, they leave before they can ever see their harvest. Totally. They leave before they can even see the fruit of their labor.
That's it.
And the fruit of your labor doesn't happen in 1 year.
I've always felt like whenever I've had to change and reinvent myself, it has always been attached to empowerment. I have to reinvent myself, which means I've got to give away more. And I've got to create space for me to do something else that other people can do what I'm doing. It's usually, it's not like reinvent, like I got to reinvent my preaching. Like, I got to reinvent my create intimacy in my marriage. Yeah. But as far as leadership goes, in this context, usually when I'm reinventing myself, it's going, you got to empower more people to do more things, and you've got to go do what nobody else can do.
It's always it,
and
man.
That's the hardest part. Because usually my problem is personally, I love doing that.
Yeah.
This is what's making this hum.
Yeah.
This has got my handprint on it. So that's why I've got to teach somebody else how to do that.
Totally.
I got to release, but this is and I find this consistent with a lot of leaders is that we'll hold on to something for too long, and then here it comes, and we're making decisions when it's too late. Every time I've done that, I've regretted it.
Totally.
So I love talking about that
feeling.
Yeah, I hate that feeling. I want to talk about one of my favorite things with you, and that's relationships.
Yeah.
You're doing a relationship series right now, or maybe just finished it. I don't know.
We just wrapped it up. Yeah.
Unbelievable. You've been doing relationship series, by the way, for years. Right. Nobody does. Like, how many relationship series have you done through the years?
Too many.
So many. You're so good at it. But I think one of the, that's such a preacher, like always clearing his throat. Have you ever go
Chad's crazy.
Welcome even to the stage. I get up. Yeah. But one of the things I love about you is that you're really a good steward of relationships. You're a loyal person. I think that two of my favorite phrases you use about relationships is one, alignment determines assignment. I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But another one that I learned from you is healthy relationships are a reflection of a healthy individual or healthy individuals. So talk to me about those two things. You've made decisions to align yourself with people. How do you discern that? How do you know that? How has that changed your life, your alignment? And then how do you get healthy? How do you handle relationships? And you're trusted, you're loved, you're celebrated, you've got a lot of relationships from all kinds of different spheres. So how do you handle a lot of relationships? How do you have healthy relationships? How do you align yourself and discern, this is going to be my tribe? Talk to me about relationships.
There's a whole lot of cool studies and books that are out right now. For many, many years in America, especially, people would talk about IQ, your level of intelligence.
Sure.
But in the last 20 years, especially in the leadership space and organizational space, there's been a whole lot new conversation around this idea of emotional intelligence. And I think in 95, I can't remember the author's name, but the book subtitle was, how emotional intelligence can be more important than
I believe
IQ,
it.
You know what I mean? And I do too. Emotional intelligence essentially is understanding your emotions and understanding other people's emotions and helping to lead through that.
Yep.
And so it takes self-awareness, it takes social awareness, it takes self-management. And so I think I've always naturally tried to lean into that space. I don't think I had language or vocabulary for any of those things, but I'm paying more and more attention to that. I just, in my life, as I look at my life and the opportunities, that's probably a good word, the quote unquote, I hate the word success because, but for the all intents and purposes, I'm using the word success to go like, these are cool things that have helped kind of create, your resume, the things that you've been accomplished, that you're known for. And it's always been attached to me aligning myself with people. And I love what Jim Collins says in Good to Great. He says, the right vision with the wrong people is irrelevant.
Wow.
And it's just the truth.
Hold on, say that again. Say it again for the people in the back.
The right vision with the wrong people is irrelevant.
Good God.
So you can talk all day about
that
vision.
Is awesome.
But if you don't have the right people around you, you'll never ever get there. So talk all about the leader's job is to get the right people. In fact, the right people trumps the right vision, because the right people, this is the truth, they don't even care where you're headed. They're just pumped you're together.
What does he say? He says, doesn't matter where the bus is going. All that matters is who's on the bus.
We'll figure that out.
We will.
Literally, vision almost comes second. It's like, we'll figure out where we're going. But who's here? And even before I heard that language, I always sensed that. You, me, Don, Shree, and Julia could get in a car right now, and it's like, do you want to go to Santa Barbara, or do we want to go to San Diego? Like, it wouldn't really matter.
Or Laguna. Let's go to Laguna.
Right. Like, there would be a debate. But I'm just going, the whole point is that we'd be laughing all the time, because it's like, these are our dearest friends, and we love each other. And like, wouldn't it matter if we were in Omaha? We're going to be together.
That's it.
And so I think I've always sensed that. And I think the way we try to build our church is just going like, hey, it's less about what we're doing. It's more about who we're doing it with. And so alignment for me, it's just like, I've always wanted to align myself with the right people. And so when you say, who are the right people? Well, I think that you want to see the fruit of someone's life.
Absolutely.
When I use the word fruit, it's kind of a biblical word, but like, what are the results of their life? What do they have in their life? I want to reach up. I think that's a powerful teaching.
You do that so good.
You got to learn how to reach up. If you're the smartest person in your group, you need a new group. Like you need, the way you get sharper, scripture, oh my God, I'm such a pastor.
Wait, stop apologizing.
Well, I just feel like I want to make sure. I just want to make sure.
I appreciate that, but also people know you're a pastor.
The scripture says iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And that's a fun thing to quote, but consider that for a minute. What is iron and sharpening? There's friction happening. There's tension happening. They're going back and forth, and you get sharper. And so relationships are not about you satisfying me. It's about sharpening me. But if I'm only hanging out with people that are dull, that are not going to have any kind of good combustion and friction, if we're not going to have robust conversation, if we're not going to debate, if we're not going to challenge, if I'm not going to learn, then we're not going to get sharp. And so I have to figure out how to insert myself into bigger worlds and bigger spaces. And I need to honor, and I need to ask questions, and I need to seek opportunities to get better and to grow, because that's not just going to come to me. I have to be intentional about that.
Wow.
And so I think relationships, man, like, people are the greatest asset in your life. Bottom line.
100% agree.
It's just the greatest asset in your life. It's worth more than your money. The quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. And I will bank on that over and over and over again. So I think in church, we're talking about relationship collections or series in church. And for us, I've done them for many, many years, because I actually think that when Jesus came, it wasn't just his mission to get us to heaven. That was objective number one. But objective number two is that while you're here on earth, if you live according to me, your whole life is going to flourish. You're going to walk into the Zoe, abundant life. I've come to give you life and life more abundantly. And I think that his principles actually teach us how to walk in abundance with one another. And so I think we need teaching in the church today to say, man, this is how you, in your romantic relationships, this is how in your friendship relationships, how you get along. He came that we would be unified together. And so
I love it.
For me, I just see so many positive results, positive opportunities because of the people I do life with.
That's it.
That I want to make sure we're taking time to teach our church. And so that's on the romantic side, and that's also just on the relational side.
But again, the reason why I ask you is because I think that you are someone I look at and go, wow, you steward relationships so well. You protect people, you serve people.
You're kind.
I love that about, we were just mentioning one of your staff members that got sick, and you flew to go meet her. What was it, Mexico?
Yeah, we had two people on our staff. Two people, Manushka and Mariana.
But that's one story of 100 stories I can think about. You going to be with people in hospitals and sitting with people late through the night to talk through their problems. And that's something that I think all of us, if I'm being honest, I think that's the number one question people are wanting to figure out in their life. How do I handle these relationships? Family, spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, coworkers. What's most people's biggest hurdle? Their thinking pattern. Second problem, relationships. Those are, to me, kind of the top two. I don't think right, so my thinking's bad, and I can't figure out how to handle these relationships. So as a leader, and I love that you talked about emotional intelligence. I'll never forget my dad got really into this whole emotional intelligence, started reading all these books, taking all these tests. My dad called me a couple years ago. He says, son, I just took an emotional intelligence test, And it turns out he used this word. This is not a politically correct word.
I don't know if you should use it then.
Yeah, he goes, I'm emotionally, I can't even use the word. I'm emotionally
inept.
Inept. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Right. And my dad goes, those are the results. I said, Dad, you don't have to take the test. I could have told you that.
Oh my gosh.
I could have told you.
Yeah.
But the generation before us, again, going back to this last 20 years, generation before us maybe was emotionally shut off or didn't know how to emotionally, but in today's currency, relationships are so important. And I think if we're leaning into leadership, it's one subject I want to figure out. How do I handle these relationships?
Well, I think the good news when it comes to emotional intelligence is that you can grow in it and you can learn it.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think so many people, they feel like they can't graduate and grow. And the truth of the matter is you can. Emotional intelligence comes from your feelings. Your feelings come from your thoughts. So it's training your mind how to think correctly. And the more you become self-aware, the more you learn how to manage yourself, get disciplined, the more you discover social circles and be able to read the signs in other people, you can grow. But, we preached a message, and not to be the guy who preaches his message all over again on a podcast, but we just preached a message just last week, Don Shree and I, and it was in this collection on relationships. And the last message was called Trapped in Offense. And the reason why I bring it up is because I think you're absolutely right that people, their number one question, I think in church, aside from, like the big theological questions about God, purpose, is always with relationships. And it's because that's what the enemy's going to constantly come and try to attack.
Totally.
And so the message was called Trapped in Offense. And Matthew 24, Jesus speaking in the last days, I think verse 10, he says, in the last days, many people will be offended with one another. And I think it's probably pretty relevant today in 2018 that as you're trying to talk and just have a candid conversation, that you're afraid for a moment to say the wrong word because it's going to offend somebody. And we live in a day today, right, that everyone's opinions is offensive and everyone's disrespecting one another, and we're so divided and we're so polarized and we're so set apart from one another. And so it's clear that Jesus was onto something. But what's really interesting about that word offense in the Greek is the word scandalon. And the word scandalon in the Greek means trap. And I think today, when it comes to relationships, is that people are trapped in offense, that we get offended with one another. And what happens is that when I get offended with you, I get trapped in that offense. And as soon as I get trapped, I'm caught and I'm imprisoned by my feelings, by how I think you should have treated me, that you disrespected me. And so when I get offended with you, I think that by being offended with you or hurt by you, that I'm paying you back somehow by giving you the cold shoulder, by cutting you off, by severing the relationship. But the reality of it is I'm destroying my future.
Wow.
And so I think when it comes to managing relationships, if you want to manage relationships and you want to steward relationships, you're going to have to understand very, very quickly that living a life offended, offense builds a fence around you. And so many people today, the reason why they don't partner with others, the reason why they don't collaborate is because they've lived small lives because they want to be justified. But when it comes to offense and when it comes to relationships, the main word that's going to help every relationship is the practice of forgiveness. And it sounds so old school and so biblical, but it's just the truth.
It is.
That I'm choosing to forgive. That forgiveness is not about justice. Forgiveness is about freedom.
Wow.
And so many people are not free in relationships today because they're trapped in offense. They're trapped in a hurt. They're trapped in a wound. And this happens in leadership like crazy. You and I should literally talk about this for a long time. You've got senior leaders that are offended with staff that didn't support, that they didn't feel like were loyal, that were divisive, that hurt them, that left them.
Didn't post about them enough on Instagram.
Whatever the thing is, and they're trapped. And their world's getting smaller and smaller. They have this fence going up and they're getting isolated. But all of their success and all their future is tied to the motivation and the relationship of the team pushing the bus forward.
That's it.
Then you've got people underneath the senior leader that feel like they were overlooked, that feel like they weren't appreciated, that feel like they were talked down to, and they're offended, and the world's getting smaller and smaller. Then you got friends that started together, but then one grew and now they're in competition with them and they're hurt by them and they don't even know it. They can't even identify it and they're trapped in offense. Then you've got marriages that just the list goes on and on and on.
Right.
And I think for all of us, when you're coming back to this whole thing about, it's like, I want to be a person that's quick to forgive.
Yeah.
I want to be a person that realizes, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's almost just, it's the thought process because it's like, I have to keep telling myself, I need Chad.
Yeah.
Because I'm so self-absorbed and I'm so self-focused. So I need to change the thought pattern. If I really want to get even, if I really want to get to where I need to go, I need to keep telling myself, I need Chad.
Yeah.
I need Don Cherie. And I think that we have to change the way we're thinking about it.
Totally.
Because if you hurt me or if I think you've done something, I'm the one who's trapped, not you.
Yeah.
Not you. Like, I'm not getting you back. I'm not getting even with you. No, the scriptures say that in order to get revenge, heap, you want to heap coals on them, forgive them, love them, bless them.
Right.
So I don't know. I think there's some powerful conversation that needs to be had, that we should be having.
No, I think this is huge. Because, I mean, think about, you talk about leadership, right? Stewardship and work ethic and so reinventing yourself, so many things we talk about. But if you're a bitter, offended leader, it's just so hard to follow. It's really difficult because you start sabotaging relationships. You just get weird behavior.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it, but you. Nobody can have access to you really. It's just a bizarre, you become a bizarre person.
It's funny because this whole idea of a trap right now in my house, Don Cherie and I, we had to move out of our house because we have mice in our house.
Stop.
You can't make this stuff up, bro.
Stop. Miami, it's a difficult place to live.
Would you believe this? Our exterminator came to the house. His name's Mickey. You can't.
Please tell me you preach this. Please tell me you use this. Of course. You can't.
The guy walked in and
no one can give you a better gift.
He's an exterminator and says, my name's Mickey.
You could have closed the service right there.
I said, your name's Mickey?
That's a roar. The church
Mickey,
roars and you go.
the exterminator of mice?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I knew I was called to it ever since I was a young boy.
Yeah.
I hated Mickey Mouse. Like, oh my goodness. So
you can't make it up.
But we have these mice traps all over their house and we've caught 5. I hate to say it, but it's
number of grace. Keep going.
Number of grace. But what's funny is that a mouse trap is not a trap for you or me. Like,
right.
We know it's a trap. A mouse trap though, to a mouse, they don't know it's a trap. You bait them with the food and they fall into the trap.
Yep.
It's funny. I think when the enemy comes, he doesn't use the same traps on all of us. He baits us differently. And what's always amazing is everyone else around you can see where your trap is, but you, because the trap is a trap for you.
Yeah.
And it's why you need voices. It's what you're saying right there. It's going like, man, everyone can see that you're bitter.
Yeah.
Everyone can see that you're hurt, that you're broken. And you trying to justify yourself as to how, you could be justified.
Yeah.
But do I want to be justified or do I want to be free? And that's where I'm coming. It's like, I think with relationships, I want to keep reminding myself that, oh my goodness, I need these people to reach the thing that God's called me to. And I love
that. I need them.
There is this sentiment, especially even in the leadership and business space today, that's like this idea at times that's so much like, I'll prove the haters wrong.
Self-made man.
Yeah, I did it. And it's going, I don't think, the scripture says this, that 1 can put 1,000 to flight, 2 can put 10,000 to flight.
That's it.
That's some weird math right there.
Right.
Because the math of collaboration is always multiplication.
Ooh.
That when you go from 1 can put 1,000.
I'm sorry, you have to say it again. The math of what?
The math of collaboration is always multiplication.
Beautiful.
So you and I together are going to be able to reach.
Great.
But you and I separate. You're over there and I'm over here. It's 1,000 and 1,000.
That's it.
Chad and Rich together, 10,000.
Game
Whoa,
over.
it should be 2,000, I think.
Wow.
No, it's not addition anymore.
The math of collaboration is that's brilliant.
And I think that's what the enemy wants to stop us from.
Yeah.
He wants to stop our collaboration on every level, especially in the kingdom of God. And that's why he attacks marriages. That's why he attacks homes. That's why he attacks friendships. That's why Jesus prays his last prayer saying, God, I pray that they would be united, that the world would know they're my disciples by their love for one another.
Wow.
And so when we say alignment is more important than assignment, it's true. You and I walking in peace and harmony, we're going to we'll do assignment after assignment after assignment after assignment.
Yep.
So I'm more focused on what are we doing together than I am with, let me go do my thing. Because my thing is so much smaller than our thing.
Totally. I think something I appreciate about people that are really good at relationships too is longevity. that they don't always have a new batch of friends.
Sure.
Last night I was preaching at my dad's pastor's conference, and there's people I'm just blown away. People that my parents have been friends with for years, have been in my life since I was 10, 12, 15. And I'm hugging these people going, these are some of our dearest friends. We've been in life together. You know, the guy that led my dad to the Lord last night, we honored him in the service. But this guy didn't just lead my dad to Christ and you know, help him get saved, and then it was just like goodbye. I've grown up with that guy my whole life. Like I want to be like, my parents are so good at that. You're good at that. If you're a leader out there that's listening today, man, if we can value relationships, I just think it's a game changer.
Well, there's 3 types of people always in your life. There's people that are coming. There's people that are staying. There's people that are going.
Yeah.
Welcome those that are coming.
Yep.
Listen to those that are staying.
Yep.
And celebrate those that are going.
I love that.
And the idea is that you need some people that you're going to walk out your journey with.
Yeah.
Yet you always want to make sure that you are living a life that's going, there's always room at the table for someone new.
I love that.
And I got to always have this healthy mechanism that there's going to be people that are going to wound me and hurt me. But rather than being wounded and hurt and harboring the betrayal, I'm going to celebrate you. I'm going to forgive you.
That's great.
I'm going to bless you as you go.
That's great.
And I challenge our team, you know, because our team back home right now in the season of our organization where we're at, dude, camaraderie and unity is not our challenge right now. What is our challenge is that if we're not careful, we can become exclusive because it's so good and everyone's so familiar that you can stop being evangelistic. You can stop being big. You can stop going.
Absolutely.
And I want my heart to expand. I want my heart to grow. And so if I'm going to dinner, I'm going with Chad and Julia, 2 of my best friends, and then we're inviting a new couple with us.
Yep.
I'm going to always create a moment, a pocket to say, man, we can't forget about the new voices that are coming in, but I got to make sure I'm welcoming those that are coming, I'm listening to those that are staying, and I'm celebrating those that are going.
I love that. I was just thinking this morning, reminding myself, I am a recruiter.
Yeah.
Hey, just a heads up.
Wow.
You're a recruiter. What's your full-time job? You're in the recruiting business.
There you go.
So don't you stop recruiting. It's just us and we're having fun and we're best friends. You are
every
dead in the water.
entrepreneur out there needs to listen to that. Write that down right now. You are the recruiter, church planter. I don't care who you delegated that to in year 1. You don't get to delegate that. We are every day sharing the story.
Yep.
Every day making someone new aware of that we're in that city. It's it's huge to say that. And we need language like that because we forget it.
Someone just was reminding me, they were just with Chris Hodges and reminded me, you know, Pastor Chris, as you know, one of the largest churches in America, you know, he's just unbelievable. It's one of my favorite.
Steal everything he does.
Everything that he does. But he said to this person, I'm always recruiting. And it reminded me, hey, bro, you do realize your full-time job is recruiting. Wow. And you can lose sight of it. Sometimes it's the work.
Yep.
You know, and what's in front of us. I can get so task-oriented. I'm on my laptop all day. I'm in meetings all day. I'm trying to strategize and boom. And I can forget, hey, you know what you can actually do better than anybody? You can recruit really good.
Jeez.
And you can actually teach people how to recruit. So I think that's big. Last question. This is so fun, by the way. I love this. I think this is fantastic. Last thing. I want to talk about pressure. And with this, because I remember maybe about, I want to say within the last couple of years, I remember us talking about this subject, feeling pressure. And I can't remember what you were facing. Maybe it was criticism from media or I can't remember the season, but talk to me about, because any entrepreneur, anybody trying to build something, I don't care what it is and where it is, you're going to sometimes slide into that feeling like, oh man, I remember your dad. I love your dad so much. I remember one time he told me, I said, Pastor Rich, I'm going to LA and I'm going to start a church. And I remember your dad's, as a father in the faith, wise beyond his years, loves us as young guys. He kind of let me in on his life. And he kind of started asking me, are you sure that you want that? And he used financial pressure on you. I remember being like, wait, I'm I'm going to face financial pressure. Like, I've been doing youth ministry. We just do camps and conferences.
Right.
And so now sometimes when I face financial pressure, I can recall, oh, that's what Pastor Rich was talking about. How do you handle pressure in the different, variety of different spheres of your life?
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
I think that over and over again to me, like, I'm going to use this phrase again. I talk to myself a lot. Like,
good.
I just love that thought. Talk to yourself more than you listen to yourself. Because when I listen to myself, I say toxic things. I say things that I'm not proud of. I say things that I would never preach. So it's like that idea that David encouraged himself in the Lord is what the scripture says.
I love that.
That we as preachers, we're good at preaching everyone else. And sometimes we fail to preach to ourselves. And I was using an example the other day with our team because our theme this year is stand firm. And stand firm can kind of sound like not much of a vision statement. It can kind of sound sort of passive. Yet my point to the church was that it's out of Exodus when Moses cries out, to God. They got the Red Sea there. And Moses says to the people, stand firm and God will deliver us.
Oh, I love that.
And I think the idea for all of us is as we stand firm in Jesus, as we stand firm in his promises, he's the one that's going to make a way. Let's not waver. Let's not back down. Let's not retreat. What's the point of taking ground if you don't know how to stand your ground? So I want to be a person that knows how to stand some ground because as I take and occupy new spaces, I need to know how to stay planted and not back away.
Great.
But in that whole idea of standing firm, it's so funny because I was getting up to preach that day at our church. This was just a few weeks ago. And as I'm getting ready to preach, we're getting this information about one of our venues. I'll spare you the whole story, but renting venues, it's just a very fickle ground. It's very shaky ground.
Who are you preaching to?
I woke up this morning, we have a conference planned this Saturday. Brian Houston speaking at it, Mekon Carter. And I woke up this morning with an email from our team that the venue was taken away from us. The conference is in 3 days. Well, an hour before this thing, we solved it. We've got a place. But I mean, that's an ever ongoing thing.
Sure.
I'm talking to the guy who started a church and a club and it was the greatest night of our life. And the next morning woke up to say, hey, you don't have this anymore. So
can't be here anymore.
The point that I was making was right before I'm about to go preach this message, I'm being told some information, kind of like the story I just told you about, are we going to have our venues? And it was a kind of like this like revelatory, like awakening moment for me because it's like, I'm about to go out to this church and I'm going to hoop and I'm going to holler and people are going to stand on their feet and I'm going to yell at the devil and I'm going to shout promises over their life and over our church about standing firm. And that's not that hard for me, if I'm being honest with you. Like that's what we do. Yet in order to make that authentic and real, right now in this moment, before we're on the stage, I have to quiet my soul and I have to stand firm and I have to handle and absorb this pressure, which is we're leading this thing that's growing. And I don't know if we have a venue next week and I'm going to go out here now and they don't need to know that. That's not their burden. That's my burden. So I can preach stand firm. Can I live stand firm?
I love that.
So when it comes to handling pressure, I think like over and over again, I'm having to talk and preach to myself and challenge myself to live better than I preach and to go, can you apply these principles? And then I think also healthy thinking, things are not, things are not often as they are. The things are the way that you think that they are.
Yep.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's how I see things over and over again.
Yes.
And so for me, like I'm just reminding myself, that without pressure, I don't grow. Like the pressure of the weight, it's me having that pressure come down on me, pushing back against it and fighting back. That's actually creating strength and muscles and growth. And so I actually believe that great, great leaders, the ones that we look up to, the ones that we admire, are people that just learn how to handle the pressure.
That's it.
I think when I was younger, I used to think, oh, they don't have any pressure. Or they had it. No. It's can you weather the storm with a smile on your face?
That's it.
And know who's in control. Do you know who the one is that quiets the storm? And have you been here before to realize he's always brought you through? And if he did it in the past, why won't he do it again in the future? I can preach it. Learning to live it over and over again is me applying the sermons that we share and teach. And so I love the idea of battles and the growth of battles. David is a shepherd. No one's around. And he's watching his dad's sheep, a flock of sheep. That's what was entrusted to him. A bear comes, he fights.
Right.
Lion comes, he fights.
Khabib.
No one, Khabib. Yeah. No one was shouting for him.
Right.
Nobody was talking about
Yep.
him. Yet that's what he was doing. So when he shows up in the valley of Elah and there's God's people, God's sheep, and there's a giant named Goliath, it was pressure, but it wasn't his first rodeo.
Right.
Wasn't his first battle. It wasn't his first moment. And so there's a graduation. And I think the frightening thing, or the thing that we have to all be aware of, is that you get over one mountain and there's another one there. Yeah. You know, he killed Goliath, and that wasn't the last day he fought again. You know what I mean? But every battle grew, and after he conquered, there'd be more fruit on the other side. There'd be more of a harvest on the other side. And so how we handle that is by telling our minds that this is going to be good for me.
Yep.
That I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to get better from
Engage
this.
it.
I'm going to face this thing. I can handle this. I'm made for this. I'm not afraid of this. If I don't fight this thing, I can't fight the next thing. It's the next thing that I really want. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Yes.
Like, man, this is why we go to church. This is why we need preaching, because
it's why we need community. It's why we need the disciplines. It's why we need to work out. It all matters. I find, and what's great is, I didn't have a lot of pressure in my life before. And now, you start a business and you're trying to build something. I feel things I've never felt before. I've never felt, there we go.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Hallelujah. I've never felt some of the things that I feel today. And I keep reminding myself, hey, bro, like self-talk, face this now. Because you know what's in your heart. So if you don't engage this and conquer this now, because I know what's in my heart. I know where I want to go. I know my dream.
Yeah.
So if I can't conquer it now at this level, and so it's just a matter of just setting your mind and going, this is actually a small problem compared to the problems you hope to face. And what are the problems you hope to face? People that have gone before you mentioned some of the guys, and we look at them and go, they're facing this on a whole nother scale than I am. They must have learned at my stage how to handle this kind of stuff.
And look, every problem, you don't get to determine what those are.
Right.
You get to determine how you respond to those things.
It's the only thing you have control over.
And just in my short experience of leadership, I'm telling you, on the other side of every crisis has always been growth, not just like numerically, but a lot of times numerically, but it's always been an expansion. Capacity has expanded. We're talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
My capacity can't grow unless I walk through the stress.
That's it.
Learn to rest through it. I think in 2018, being a pastor, there's a lot on pastors today.
Sure.
You've got to be a CEO.
Yeah.
You've got to be a chief marketing officer. You've got to be a content creator.
We need you to be a comedian.
Yeah, you got to be funny. You got to be a financial. You've got to be culturally relevant.
Tanned.
You've got to be spiritually sound.
Please be tanned.
I think there's a lot being asked out of you.
Totally.
And so I think there is pressure. And I think that
it reminds me of golf.
Yeah.
I was just watching this whole thing about golf. Like golfers, like 15, 20 years ago, they were all in khakis. No one was in the weight room.
Yeah.
Everyone was out of shape.
Right.
No one looked good. Tiger comes out in a dry fit red Nike shirt and everybody's like, hold on, golfers lift weights?
Yeah.
And now on tour, there's not one dude that's overweight.
Right.
There's not one dude that's not in the weight room.
Right.
That's a little bit jacked. That's a little bit cut. And it's like, hey, guess what? Every business has evolved. It's not like, wow, pastors these days.
Right.
It's like, hey, guess what? This is just
There's
what
more on
technology. This is just what culture's done. And again, talking about reinventing yourself.
Try being an NFL head coach.
Totally. Why does Sean McVay, the youngest guy, have the #1 team in the NFL, and a guy like Jeff Fisher, who killed it for years, lose his job? It's difficult to reinvent yourself in any sphere.
Sure.
So I think all that to say, it's like the pressure that I feel now is like, I just got to engage this thing. I can't run from it. And you know what? I actually find the best medicine for me. I'm talking about going back to relationships. I need you. What helps me handle my pressure so much is just acknowledging it. I was listening to someone talk about this the other day.
I agree with that.
Craig Groeschel had a guest on his podcast the other day. I forget the guy's name, but he was talking about how negative emotions, if you can just identify and call out the emotions, it helps the emotion leave.
Wow.
So when I say, I feel pressure, wait, it just went away. So just being able to identify the fact that I feel discouraged, I feel lonely, I feel very frustrated, I correctly identifying that helps me just go like, I'm going to be all right.
And I think it absolutely makes sense. I mean, things mold in the dark. You know what I mean? Things fester in the dark.
Totally.
And so exposing to light is where you're always going to find freedom. And so I think that discouragement comes and challenges come. Just don't get alone in your discouragement. Don't deal with your challenges all by yourself.
That's the key.
Don't stay quiet about which is really going on. I would totally agree. I think that the counsel, the therapy of speaking it aloud helps you solve it. It helps you deal with it. And there's so many pressures I was unaware of, leading an organization, paying people's salaries. And I think for me, I've got so much respect and honor on another level for some of the men that have been able to accomplish, some of the men and women that have been able to accomplish what they've been able to accomplish. I'm blown away by all that they were able to put together. And over again, you'll see that in order to get to where you want to be, you're going to need capable men and women around you, teams of people. And that's why you have to be a leader, because a leader's not trying to do it all by themselves. A leader's not trying to carry that pressure all on their own. A leader's going, let's spread this out. We should all be carrying this pressure together. This is not all on me. That's a lie that the enemy would love for us to believe. That this whole thing's all on me. And I'm right now trying to figure out ways to go, let's divvy this out a little bit. Let's delegate this out a little bit.
I love it. Last thing, we always end. It's the second episode, bro. We're creating a new ending. We're creating an ending.
I like that so much.
I'm so into,
one of the things we always do here on the Leadership Lean In with Chad Veach.
You've done this twice. You're 2 in. You had fastest growing church, second growing. What in the world?
Jeremy Foster, we're coming for you. What? It's not even how this works.
Is this Saul or David? Anyways, so I like this. I'm stealing this from Dan Patrick, by the way. Every morning at the end of his radio show, he says, "What did we learn today?" And he has all the guys with him. What's one thing you learned today out of today's? Yeah,
it's beautiful.
I always listen to the end of his thing because I catch Colin, so I'm not really listening to Dan. But anyways, information you don't need. I love that stuff. So I'll give you mine.
Okay.
The number one takeaway, you said a lot of brilliant things. I love, you always have handles that I grab. I love that stuff. Love handles? Love handles. I love but you always have quotes.
Trying to get rid of my love handles this year.
But I love the decisions, the 3 parts, the head, heart, and gut. I'm still in that.
Yeah.
And I've never heard anybody say it that way, but 2 of the 3 have got to be clear.
Yeah.
Because when you were saying that, I was thinking about people that we were just talking about who said, I'll never do this. And they violated their never. But I think that as you were saying, I go, they violated their never because something in their heart or their gut goes, we're doing this.
Yeah.
So I love that.
It's great.
I love that. That's what I'm taking.
What did I learn today? I learned, I like talking about reinvention. I like the idea of what you were saying about whenever I'm what's preventing me from reinventing is the fact that I'm failing to empower.
That's it.
And us identifying what is the best and highest use of my time. That's
always the biggest challenge.
That's part of it. That's a big secret right there. And being willing to change with that. But in order to typically lean into that thing, it's going to require me to let go of something else.
I love that.
I love you very much. Can I come back for episode 3 or?
We're moving to the 3rd, which is,
I'm going to give you a couple names I think you could get in here.
Yeah.
For episode 3.
Yeah.
Do you know my friend Paul Daugherty in Tulsa?
One of my favorite people in the whole world. Okay. I do know him.
Paul Daugherty.
Yeah.
I think he would be great for you.
Yeah.
Do you know a guy by the name of Robert Madu?
I've heard of him.
I think you should do a preaching.
Preach off?
A preaching clinic with him. Ask him how he writes.
Very good.
And then I think the 3rd person you should consider getting on here, Stephen Furtick.
I would love to have Stephen Furtick. If you're out there now, I look at the camera.
Well, he's definitely listening to the stuff that we're talking about. He's going to give an hour and 10 minutes to listen to.
He's right now writing my next favorite worship song. He is somewhere.
I think
writing a
I think you
worship
should get
song.
Craig Rochelle on here. You shout Craig Rochelle out more than anyone I know.
It's so late.
I need to get you like a Stephen Covey book or something, man, just to make sure I'm diversifying your reads.
I'm so into Craig Rochelle. This is a true story. I'm so into the Craig Rochelle Leadership Podcast.
It's so good.
I gave it to a friend of mine, Rob Luke.
Okay.
You know
Yes.
Rob and Jack. He told me the other day, he goes, I'm addicted to the thing. I listened to 30 episodes. I go, this is why we're friends. Me and Rob and Craig. Craig
so good.
Steven right now is writing a worship song. Pastor Craig is lifting weights right now.
Craig,
We love you.
we love you so much. We love you.
We want to be like
On
you.
behalf of Chad Veach, could you please come and be on his Leadership Lean In
I
podcast?
would give anything.
He got these microphones in honor of you.
We love you.
We love you.